Alright, so this video is on the vulnerability of the American public. I'm sorry ahead of time my video gets cut off. It happens often. It's not meant as a personal insult. It doesn't mean that I didn't have more to say. Oh my god, I am so tired. It's pretty warm here today. And of course, I live in a horse trailer. On the bright side, I got the back open, I got the side door open, and I got this little panel thing in the front that's open. So I got a breeze going through, and it's not nearly as bad as it could be. Matter of fact, the breeze stops for about 10 seconds. I start sweating, and then the breeze picks back up and it cools me off. So it's not bad. It's the sweat that helps me to cool off, believe it or not. You might want to ask the science teacher about that. They can explain to you how it is that you can wear 3 layers of shirts and a leather jacket and zip up the leather jacket, start to sweat, and then unzip it, and it'll actually create frost on your clothes on the inside. I know this for a fact. I've done it in Boulder, Colorado. And Mr. Miller, I went to go, that was my science teacher in high school. He still lives here in town. I was telling him about that. He said, "You're not telling me anything new. It's called condensation, and that's how it works, Sean." Mr. Miller is a highly intelligent individual. When it comes to our rights, the police are held to a different standard than we are. Government officials are held to a different standard than we are. A lot of people want to say things like, well, the police, they have badges, they have a job to do. Obviously, they're there because they are professional. And the reality is that they're not. The only way that we have maintained them, and as they are currently, they cannot function. They cannot police themselves. They cannot investigate themselves. They keep letting people get away with things that are grossly wrong. But then police nationwide are so hell-bent on making sure that how they treat former foster children and homeless people and the mentally ill doesn't come to light. That anytime where it's one of those situations where they're taking advantage of someone for exactly those reasons, they are willing to make it a racial issue. The police themselves are willing to pretend that an issue that was not racist to begin with was racist. They're willing to sacrifice 1, 2, 3, 5, half a dozen or more of their own people to hide the fact that they do this daily to those considered mentally ill, to those who are alone, those who they believe will not have the money for a civil lawyer. Because when a police officer does something wrong, you're looking at 2 years before you get a court date if you're able to get the paperwork started to begin with. And that's provided you have a place and all of the resources to get started even doing that. When their crimes, when the police's crimes prevent you from doing that, when them abusing the law and then the cost of being wrongly accused, let alone wrongly convicted because you're prevented from even going to court or showing evidence or facing your accusers. I mean, we're living in a wrong system here. And a lot of people are like, you need to pay attention to our group. You need to pay attention to our group. Black lives are what we need to focus on right now. No, we need to focus on the missing and murdered Indigenous women right now. Oh, no, we don't need to just focus on the women. There are a lot of missing and murdered Indigenous people right now. We need to focus on them. No, we need to focus on CPS and all the families they're screwing over and all the innocent people whose lives are completely destroyed because they are not checking on these foster families. Many of these foster families are using their foster homes as a position of power, as predators. They are in control. It's their word versus yours. We have the technology for police to have body cameras on them at all times, and many police departments refuse. Do you know why? Because it'll catch and show the way that they treat the homeless. Officer Keith Steinman had more broken body cameras than any other officer on Boulder Police Force in the history of Boulder Police Department. Those body cameras are voluntary. They weren't voluntary for Steinman. He had to. Why was Steinman, out of all of those officers, why was Steinman ordered to wear body cameras, number one? When it's to the point where you have voluntary body cameras on a police force and you are literally telling a police officer you have to wear yours, there's a reason for that. That officer is doing wrong things and probably going to cost the county a lot of money. But that's why police work together. They don't operate based on the law. They all operate based on public opinion. And they have been and will continue to do so. If the technology shows they're wrongdoing, it doesn't matter because they're the ones in control of that. And you need the money for a civil lawyer. Many police officers have told me that I need a civil lawyer to give that information. When I try to talk to their superiors or others, they tell me, hey, you got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. Each one of them telling me a different way that I have to do it. And then when I get a hold of these lawyers to try to get help, they want me to have all of this organized and sent to them, nice, prim, and proper packaging, which I would have been able to do back in January of 2018. The police just weren't having it by charging me with felony assault against a police officer who should not have been a police officer at that point, a police officer who assaulted a person, and that officer was allowed to move on to become an officer in another jurisdiction, something that has happened repeatedly. Another thing is, there are a few people who have started looking into the number of people who have been allowed to move on, and many of these people's opinion is that these people were given a choice. It was obvious to the officers in this town and many other jurisdictions, as well as with these public pretenders, that they did not do their jobs and they were given a choice between either moving on or being prosecuted. That's a definite possibility. At the same time, I am a disabled American. What they did was a felony, and allowing them to move on is a felony on the part of the people who allowed them to do it. At no point in time should I have ever had to break the law. I should have never had to break the law to get help. And if you look at the things that I was doing before Natalie was killed, I was trying to get help, legal help. I was trying to get a stop to the violence that I was having to endure while Natalie was pretending like I would. Hello again, Ashley. A lot of people that offered to help me are addicts with severe PTSD from enduring a lot of the things that I've endured and a lot of the things that Natalie endured. And that's why they offered to help. But our coping mechanisms after years of abuse has gone from trying to make a difference to moving around all the time and getting messed up on drugs to try to drown it out. Many of these people who offer to help me, they can't help me when the way that they cope is by them drowning it out. Sorry, but if you drown out your pain like that, you're harming yourself and you're harming others because your story is important. You're not the one going through this. And each one of these people going through it says to me, I'm sorry, Sean, I can't do anything. I can't do anything by myself. A lot of the parents say the same thing. Many of the parents who help me out, their excuses for not helping me out is their family. Now, is that a valid excuse? In my personal opinion, it's not an excuse. It's a valid reason. But also the fact that that is a valid reason needs to be brought up in court. The fact that so many of these people were afraid for their friends and family, and rightfully so. There is plenty of evidence to show that they had every right reason to, especially after these Natalie Bollinger groups that were actually Sean Short's hate groups. I mean, you literally, if you stuck up for me, people were going to threaten your life. People were going to threaten your family's lives. People were going to get on your Facebook page and go through and try to tear you down and send you pictures of your kids with nooses around their necks, for Christ's sake. There's a lot of things that we can do to make a difference, but it doesn't make any difference if we're all at each other's throats. A lot of this stuff that I hear from Black Lives Matter is horseshit. I mean, the analogies that I'm reading about how Bob, they're using Bob as black people, right? And then there's all the other people at the table who are eating. And that's how it starts off. No, stop right there. You just assumed that everybody else was eating. You want everybody at the table to fight for Bob to get food. No, everybody at the table, except for the dude who invited us all here for dinner at our own expense, none of us are eating. All of these families, all right, with children who are using their children as their excuse not to make the world a better place, saying, well, I can't do anything, but I can teach my kids a different way. No, you're not. You're telling them one thing and doing another, and that's not helping out the situation. You are teaching them to do what you are doing. They're not going to make any difference either. They're going to get drunk at a party, have sex, get pregnant, and use their kids as an excuse, the same as you did. You're not making the world a better place for your kid. You're not fighting for our rights, which are their rights. And you know what? They're going away. I mean, I've gotten to see since before 2001 how quickly our rights were disappearing after 2001. Oh my God. We don't have rights. We got a whole generation of idiots who think that the Second Amendment is a fucking hunting law. It's not. The very First Amendment is your freedom of speech, but not just your freedom of speech, also your freedom of religion. The Second Amendment is your right to protect that. I personally believe that Muslims should be allowed to have firearms at all points in time in the United States for their own protection. I do personally believe that. I know enough people in this very town who hate Muslims and would love nothing better than their American right to their Second Amendment and shoot somebody who looks like they might be a Muslim. They're probably a terrorist. Really? I'm tired of police getting away with stuff. I mean, if I had actually been allowed to make a report before all of this other extraneous bullshit that has happened in the last 2 years. Train. Boy, he's not honking. Oh. It's going pretty slow. Looks like they're carrying loads 3-foot diameter steel pipe. Or cast iron pipe, sorry. Although chances are pretty good that it's not cast iron, it's just steel that's been, rusted. I mean, that's not a real big thing for a lot of the stuff they use that for building. I love the way things are made. The problem is the division. The same things that are happening to homeless people are happening to LGBT people. They're happening to black people and Hispanic people. They're just happening to people in general. The less money you have, the less rights you have. A police officer can assault you and charge you with assault and take you to jail immediately. And it's going to take you 2 to 3 years to eventually possibly get something done as far as that goes. Now, Zed Atkinson, he got his stuff thrown through on a roll through. He got paid $100-something thousand for a situation involving Waylon Lolatai. And Zed Atkinson lives in a house. He's not homeless. He got that money because when he was treated like a homeless person, the Boulder Police Department would rather get rid of one of their own and pretend that it was a race issue. that show how many homeless they do this to on a daily basis. The biggest issue most people had with it is that it was on Zed's property. I mean, he was renting the place, he was cleaning up the property that he lived at. There are lots of homeless people in Boulder, Colorado who do clean up a lot of people's trash. That is their home. Now there's signs everywhere saying, "You can't be there, you can't be there, you can't be there, you can't stop there, no big backpacks." We don't want to see homelessness, and we don't want homelessness anywhere near us. No, we don't want you to have a place. We don't want you to have a safe place of your own. We want you to have to carry all of your stuff on foot back and forth between where all the resources are, spread miles apart. And we want to put these resources with all of the places that don't want us there, right smack in the center of all these different resources we got to go to. And then we have to expend our time and our resources to go to these supposed resources, only to be turned down. You spend $200 and 6 months of your life to get $50 worth of help. Did you come out on top? No, you got screwed. And then there's the things that you have to do to take care of yourself that you can't do because of all the hoops that you're jumping through, because of all the resources that it's costing you and all of the time. And they say you're not trying. Just because you don't have the resources, you must not be trying. Isn't that the case? If the police went through my YouTube or my Facebook and my YouTube, they'd be able to arrest and convict a lot of people just based off of what's there. That's not even counting the stuff that was lost or stolen. The stuff that I can't show because it's been fucking manipulated and contorted. Now, Molly Smith, she has a video of my first real sit down with officers. It was Officer Hahn, and he didn't investigate it. Matter of fact, Molly Smith is still pissed off about the way that Officer Hahn, who she spoke so highly about, handled that situation. When Sheridan Police Department illegally stole evidence from one jurisdiction in response to a crime, first of all, that I did commit. I did light the fire. Don't expect me to lie about that. I did that to try to get a court date because the only way that the police would listen to me is if I committed a crime. That's literally it. Otherwise, I get the mentally ill treatment. Now, it's not my disabilities that are the problem here. It's how they treat me because I'm different that is the problem. And those disabilities are in how people treat me, how much differently they treat me than they treat you. If a crime happens to me, it gets blown off and blown off. And no matter what, there's some reason, some jurisdictional reason why they can do the things that they did. Even if they change the rules entirely with the next person in line, the ones who hate me, they will do everything for. But for me, they will do everything to prevent. And why is that? Why are the rules different for me than they are for them? Because of the tag mentally ill. They call me mentally ill when they want to ignore my intelligence. Then they call me intelligent when they want to justify that they denied me all of my human rights by calling me mentally ill. We're not going to listen to you because you're mentally ill. And then other people are like, you know what? They should listen to you because you're intelligent. Obviously, you're intelligent, so you should have done something different. Are you seeing the things that I did differently beforehand? Are these people who hate me going to show you the hundreds of times that the police to try to speak to them in a calm fashion only to get blown off? No, they're not going to show you that. When Brian Valenzuela came and stole that evidence from Boulder County over a crime that was committed in not Sheridan, it wasn't committed in Sheridan. Let's type up Ken and Leah's address here. So, Zoo and I We'll type Denver, Colorado. All right. Well, it says here that it's in Englewood, Colorado, 80110. Now let's go Englewood and Sheridan. Boundaries. Why is it that Brian Valenzuela of Sheridan was in Boulder County manipulating evidence in a case in Englewood? Good question, isn't it? See, I'm looking at Englewood over here. It's off to the right. Sheridan's off to the left. So why is that? Why is that? Let's see, what street's this? South Broadway, Logan. Yep. It's looking to me like that was all out of jurisdiction, but does it matter? No, it doesn't. They can break the law and manipulate the law because they are the law, and nobody's going to investigate them but themselves, so they know they're going to get away with it. Kind of like the police, y'all think that it's just about George Floyd. It's not. We have had a whole string of unarmed black, not just men, but also women killed in recent years. And these people who killed them get a slap on the wrist, if that. Paid fucking vacation for murdering someone? And the fact is, it keeps happening. Now it's to the point where there are situations where, yeah, you want to hate people who are destroying stuff. They're destroying stuff over human lives being killed. And you should be thankful that they're destroying stuff instead of killing every cop out there. You should be thankful that Native Americans are not killing police officers over police not investigating the murders of their families. You should be thankful that there are not homeless women who were made homeless because they were abused, turned in their abuser, and then could not pay the bills. Now they're out on the streets being abused. They have to partner up with somebody who might possibly be on drugs most of the time, just because that person is the lesser of two evils. Yes, maybe that person will get messed up on drugs and abused them once every 3 to 6 weeks. But that's better than being abused every single day because that person isn't there to protect you. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Yes. Once every 3 weeks, this person abuses you. But also, there's 3 weeks in between using you once that you're not being abused constantly, not being harassed constantly, because that person is there to protect you. Safety in numbers.